A lot of people showed out here today saying they want to make sure City Hall hears them one way or another, whether it's inside the council chambers or outside here at City Hall. And she says what's upsetting her is not the fact that this happened on her property, that there's a truck in her backyard right now. What's upsetting her, she says, is that there was a death on her property, and a useless death at that. Earlier today, I obtained a letter sent by E.A. Harold Elementary School saying that there was a child in the school that earlier this week they confirmed had enterovirus D68. According to the Shelby County Health Department, between 2009 and 2012, 14 children died, all of whom were passengers in a car. Adding that these deaths are most often occurring in children between the ages of 5 and 9. Germantown city leaders say this agreement is actually very simple and one that they ask any other school or organization to sign if they want to use the sports fields. They're just adding one thing that Germantown wants out of this agreement. You're quietly sitting in court for months as suspects in her daughter's kidnapping and alleged murder claim their innocence. Karen Bobo said they're not fighting for their rights, but distracting from the real reason they're where they're at today. An update on just some breaking news we told you about at the top of the show. A manhunt underway in Mississippi for 2 suspects who shot at officers. Police are still looking for the people responsible for Jarmel Jones's death. And if a late night on Beale Street is part of your plans, be sure to take some extra cash with you. And if you travel a lot, you know the trip to the airport can be a stressful experience. Well, a new report shows some people are actually staying home just to avoid all that. Honoring a friend and classmate. Memphis Central High School's class of 1989 came together for their 25th reunion this afternoon. But instead of a party, they decided to do something unique to remember one of their own. I know we were even talking before about now starts the speculation of, is Fuente going to stay next year? You're probably wondering, do I need my umbrella and poncho? For that, I'm joined by Fox 13 meteorologist Ed Eccles. And so, Ed, what's the rain forecast looking like for tonight at the Liberty Bowl? So far, twice as many voters went to the polls during the last week of early voting compared to last week. Last week, about 4,000 people voted per day in Shelby County. But it's still nowhere near to how many people voted in similar previous elections. The reason Bob King votes
every year
is simple.
To cancel my wife's vote.
But as to why people aren't voting this year,
I hope it's not a lethargic mood, but who knows?
It's scary because there's some pretty important things on the ballot.
It took us 5 minutes. It can't be time if you early vote.
As of October 28th, a little more than 56,000 Shelby County residents voted. The same day in 2010, a similar election year. Nearly 110,000 people voted.
In that election, there was a hotly contested, or at least arguably contested, governor's election. And here, there's just seems to be less energy in the governor's race.
Abortion rights, the governor's race, a state income tax ban, seemingly hot topics are getting a cold shoulder this year.
If you want wine in grocery stores, or you don't want wine in grocery stores, you need to come out and make your position on that issue known through the ballot.
This election cost about $750,000, according to the Election Commission. So it's cost the 56,000 people who voted so far $13 each to cast their ballots.
That historically, the voting picks up, so there'll be more voters. The question is will it pick up enough in order to equal 4 years ago, or at least be respectively close to that?
People who want to try to make a difference will come out, and those who don't care won't.
Now, for November 2012's election, nearly 100,000 more people voted than this year. The Election Commission says people are more drawn to the presidential elections than local elections. There are already 53,000 unemployed in Memphis, so no one wants to hear that another 440 may potentially be headed to the unemployment line. So the Memphis Chamber says they are already working hard to make sure that these Cargill employees find employment soon, and they don't think it's going to be very hard. John Jackson is one of many truck drivers.
Different places, different states.
Stopping at the Memphis Cargill facility Tuesday.
We're in this particular area every day.
But the food manufacturing company announced it's closing the Memphis location because it was operating at less than full capacity for an extended period of time.
It's going to put a hurting on people that's really out of the Memphis area.
Over at the Memphis Chamber,
And they build the transformers, and they're as big as a locomotive.
they believe the 440 displaced Cargill employees
A lot of those people have been working down there a long time.
won't be unemployed long.
The great thing is they have a lot of skills that other companies want. We've got a lot of companies like Electrolux and Mitsubishi and KTG and Nucor that are looking desperately for employees.
The chamber estimates local manufacturing companies will hire 1,000 employees per year for the next 5 years. As for the vacant building,
It's right on the river.
it won't be empty
It has access to 3 railroads
long
and right next to the interstate.
after closing.
We have a pretty large pipeline at this time, so we constantly have manufacturing companies that are considering Memphis, and so this will be another opportunity for a facility site that we have to put on the table for them.
Now in July, Cargill announced it was investing $45 million in a grain handling and shipping facility over in West Memphis, Arkansas. No word tonight on any changes to those plans. Now, as for Cargill's 8-year pilot commitment they made with Shelby County back in 2010, they tell me that will be it terminated approximately 2 months after they cease operations over at Cargill. Now, coming up at 10, we're going to talk details about how the chamber plans to help these Cargill employees and the struggles other manufacturers face finding employees like this.
Gonna let oppression turn me around.
Instead of planning Black Friday shopping, they planned a march protesting the Ferguson decision.
There were a lot of gaps and holes in the grand jury decision. Like the prosecutor picking the grand jury, the prosecutor picking which evidence he would allow.
We were upset and didn't know what to do, and I said, well, the power's in the purse, and to some extent we can say we're going to opt out of activities that might distract us from the real news and opt into an activity that will bring people together about this.
Across the country, people are supporting Ferguson by protesting Black Friday.
If you're standing in line for discounts and not standing up for justice, then maybe it's time to rethink your priorities.
With an iconic civil rights landmark in their view, Memphians peacefully spoke against present-day civil rights issues, including racism among police.
Saying that every police officer is bad? No, that's horrible. No, that's like saying every white person I encounter is racist. That's ridiculous.
Instead of focusing on not shopping, protesters focused on what they were going to do.
We have a shared mission and a shared heart of making sure that justice can be served and everybody has access to a fair trial.
I was upset about the Trayvon Martin decision, but George Zimmerman stood trial. And whatever the end of that decision, he stood trial. And that's all I can say about that.
Black and white together.
Reliving the experience.
It was love at first sight.
It's okay. I like talking about it. I think I sat in the dress for like 30 minutes and they were like, okay, time to go.
Her wedding dress.
I just felt like the one. You know how people try on dresses and they're like, oh, this is the one.
The dress was altered 3 times before the big day was approaching.
On Sunday, my ex-fiance kind of sat me down and told me he was contemplating the idea of calling off the wedding.
Bride Shelby Swink shook it off as cold feet.
The next day came and he sat me down and was like, I'm just not in love with you and I don't want to marry you and I don't want to spend the rest of my life with you.
It broke her heart, but didn't break her.
I didn't want to be that girl that everybody was tiptoeing around and like, oh, Shelby.
Shelby faced it all head on, starting with the dress.
And I sent her a Facebook message and I said, I don't know if this is something that you would even consider doing or if you would even be comfortable doing, but what about trash the dress?
At first I thought I was crazy because it is an expensive dress and I didn't really want to ruin it.
I said, would you like to do it on your wedding day?
I don't want to just spend my would-be wedding day sitting at home alone, eating ice cream and watching Netflix.
She's got it in her eye.
Paint, feathers, and glitter, surrounded by family and friends. Shelby gave her wedding dress new life.
My friend Carol just didn't even wait for Liz to say go. She just threw the paint on me. And at that moment, it was just literally everything, I just let it go. I was free, all the disappointment, all the hurt, I just felt it leave me.
Most women, I think, would be crushed, be stopped by that. And it's that saying, when life gives you lemons, what do you do? And Shelby made a big old glass of freaking lemonade with it.
The Trash the Dress pictures turned up on a bridal blog.
Liz actually popped up a picture, this gorgeous, gorgeous picture of Shelby with this paint and I was mesmerized. I was like, this is amazing.
The Barefoot Bride Shop is now displaying Shelby's dress, giving a sea of white a splash of color and perspective.
I saw what she did to kind of get her feelings out and celebrate the day that would have been her wedding day as the day that is going to be the next chapter in her life. It made me want to have the dress in the shop to kind of remind girls that that's really what it's about. It doesn't matter what happens in life, as long as you stay true to yourself and don't dwell on the negativity and focus on the future, you're going to get through anything.